Hey, where do you get your power? That's what I'm thinking about right now. It's so important to have power. For example, I was up much of the night reading the new book by Howard Kurtz on the antagonism between the media and the Trump administration. I think it's called Media Madness. And then I worked a 12-hour day today, and I ran an errand this morning, and then I did some possession consciousness and cleaning up. Had about 6 packages arrive for me, so I put them all away this evening. And here I am doing a stream at 7:40 p.m. I've been up for 14 hours. I got about 3 hours worth of sleep. I just had 1 cup of coffee. So where do I get my power from? Like, I find it so important to be plugged into power. Like, we need power because life can just wear us down. Other people can just wear us down. Like, if we sell ourselves short, there's just no end of people who will buy us short, who will suck the life out of us, who will drain our energy, who will steal our time, who will be unreliable, and just an overall negative influence in your life. So where do you get your power from? So I've had a lot of big dreams over the course of my life. I've had grand visions. I've had great ideas, but often when it came time to start building the foundation under my dreams, then the power would just kind of cut out. And I couldn't do like the discipline necessary day-to-day steps that it took to be successful. So I kind of realize now at age 51, so as I look back on my life, I was always looking for power, and I was always kind of reaching and grasping and kind of finding things that gave me a boost at times, or seemed to give me a boost, but the boost didn't last, and I wasn't able to harness that horsepower into like moving forward with my life. So now here I am. I'm 51 years of age. I have no financial assets. Luckily, I paid off my debts, and I'm never married, never had kids. And a lot of my friends call me the great underachiever because I have obvious talents, but I never was able to really put them together in a sustained fashion. So just thinking about power right now, and where does one get one's power? So I guess growing up at about age 7 or 8, I found I could get power by just blissing out. Like, my parents wanted me to kind of stay out of the way. I remember one Sabbath afternoon as they were organizing a community meal. And so I just sat in this big comfortable chair and I just told myself adventure stories. And I just blissed out for about 2 hours telling myself adventure stories, kind of based on the novels Coral Island and Treasure Island. And so I learned the power of blissing out, but it was a false power. It wasn't a power that got me where I wanted to go. It was just an escape from my misery. Now, I've had dysthymia almost all my life. That's kind of like chronic low-grade depression. And what are other things I've done? Thought, now I got power. I'm Dr. Desmond Ford's son. My father was like a rock star in the Seventh-day Adventist Church growing up. But, that didn't really cut it. I got some power from reading books. From about age 8, I just loved to read books. But that didn't kind of fix the gap between me and meaningful connection with other people. That was just, again, it was like an escape from this big gaping hole in my life, this inability to connect normally with other people. And I thought I got power from jogging. And so by age 12, I completed 5 marathons. That's 26 miles, 385 yards. And I'd train like 6, 7, 8 miles a day. And some days I'd get that endorphin rush and I'd just run for miles and I'd feel good and I'd feel powerful and I felt, healthy and strong and believed that I'd conquer the world one day and I'd conquer my problems and I'd learn to connect normally with other people. But this was an illusion. And then in 8th grade, I got Osgood-Schlatter's disease. So my knees couldn't take the jogging anymore. So that didn't cut it. I didn't really have any athletic talent to speak of. So that wasn't going to give me power. At times I've been, attractive to women, and I felt, a rush of power when I kind of saw the power that I had over a beautiful woman. But that was fleeting. I've been on TV quite a bit. I've been profiled in newspapers. I've been on various magazine covers, and that would give me a temporary boost of power, but it didn't last. About age 23, I fell in love with Judaism, and at age 27 in 1993, I converted to Judaism, and like I joined God's chosen people, and that conversion, on and off over the years, it gave me boosts of power, but it didn't last because my own character defects, my own emotional addictions, my own narcissism, just held me back from sustained power towards, positive, authentic visibility. I moved to Los Angeles in March of 1994 and love Los Angeles. I've been dreaming about living here for 15 years previous, and now I was in a city where I thought, most of the world wants to live here, and I love the beauty of the women, the beauty of the climate. I love the early morning smell of Los Angeles. I love the opportunity. I love the huge entertainment industry. I love the people I'd meet. I loved, the diversity and depth and breadth of Jewish life as I'm, just diving into Judaism. So that gave me some feeling of power, but it wasn't enough. I've often had the gift for making and maintaining friendships, and these human connections gave me power. And at times I would kind of be adopted by families, or I'd join a community and feel kind of adopted, and that gave me power. Kind of susceptible to cults. It's like anyone who goes, "Yay, Luke, we love you, we celebrate you." So I spent about 10 years in psychotherapy, and I got a lot of clarity from that, and I got a lot of tools for life. I learned about what boundaries are, but my life didn't substantially improve from my 10 years of psychotherapy. So all through my life, I kept finding these intermittent hits of power, but nothing worked for long. And it wasn't until age 44 I finally started going to a 12-step program for one of my crippling emotional addictions, my inability to sustain, deepen, and build a romantic relationship. And so going to the meetings gave me a sense of power. Connecting with people who had similar problems to me and who had overcome them gave me a sense of power. You have to make outreach calls and take and receive outreach calls from people with similar struggles as me. That gave me a sense of power. Working the 12 steps gave me greater clarity on myself, my character defects, and helped me to stand up, to face up, to fess up, and to take a complete and fearless moral inventory, take responsibility for the harms I've done other people, take steps to right those wrongs, and clean up my side of the street. And then my life started motoring along. But thinking now about one, particularly strong sense, one source of power for me over the past few years, and it's been this 5:30 a.m. 12-step phone meeting. So it's a relatively new 12-step program, and I just love this 5:30 a.m. phone meeting. There are usually about 100, 120 people on the call. And what I love about this meeting is that people are sharing the message, not so much the mess. Like, you'll sometimes go to 12-step meetings and people will talk for their whole 3-minute share about how they can't get their computer to work and will someone help them, or they need help buying a car, or their mother is so mean, or their dad just ignored them, or their boyfriend's unreasonable. They'll just complain, they'll whine and that just brings everybody down. So it's really important, in my view, to find 12-step meetings where people are primarily sharing the message of recovery, the message of hope, sharing their experience, strength, and hope. And that's powerful. That gives you power. About 2 years ago, I had about $50,000 worth of credit card debt. And by tapping in to the power of this, one particular 12-step phone meeting, 5:30 a.m., I was able to double my work hours. So I moved from working about 20 to 30 hours a week on average to working 40 to 60 hours a week. Like, even some days, I remember there were 3 days that I pulled off 18-hour days. One of them was election day in 2016. Um, and by doubling my work hours, I eventually like tripled my income. Really started making a huge dent in my debts. And I remember talking to a friend of mine who graduated from Harvard Law School, and he said, "Well, when will you be completely free of credit card debt?" And I think I'd paid off about 10,000 off the balance, so I had about $40,000 left. And I said, in about 2 years. And he said, "You should know to the day when you'll be free of debt," because this was someone who was very specific. This was someone who was a master of Excel spreadsheets. Like, this is someone who banked, more than half of his income. Okay. And like being around someone like that who's specific, who's driven. This guy makes many millions of dollars a year. He's very smart. He's very cordial. He kind of has a quick read of people, and just like that little interaction, I found incredibly inspiring. Now, specificity, I find, infuses one with power. Cleanliness infuses one with power. Like cleaning your room, cleaning your car, like practicing possession consciousness, not keeping around stuff that you don't need, stuff that served its purpose, stuff that's past its due date. That I find gives tremendous power. And I couldn't be, physically around these people on this particular phone meeting because they were calling in from all around the world. But what they had was power. And just listening to them speak, like the clarity would just blow me away. Now, some of them were earning like $25,000 a month. And I have to confess, I cannot even imagine myself earning $25,000 a month. Like, I just don't feel worthy. I don't see how I could possibly do it. I can't even conceive of earning $25,000 a month. I've always done best, working for a salary, generally a modest salary. And but these people who earn more than six figures, who are on this phone meeting, I mean, they had clarity, they had power, they had specificity, and what comes along with that is that other people no longer mystify you. Like, if you are in good mental health, if you are working a good program, if you're in recovery, if you are aware of your own character defects, if you've taken a complete and fearless moral inventory, if you've made amends to people you've hurt, then when other people mystify you, you'll quickly realize that they're either consciously or unconsciously lying or trying to manipulate you. And you just kind of realize that they're dangerous, and you keep them away. Like, people just become so clear, and those who aren't clear are just clearly bad for you. And that was something I noticed from the phone meeting, that like people just saw life so clearly. But it was a lot more than the information that they conveyed. I'd usually take away 1 or 2 points from pretty much every phone meeting, and I just let this phone meeting sponsor me for about 18 months before I found a real sponsor. But it was much more than the information. Though I'd take away 1 or 2 points that I'd either practice that day, or I'd incorporate into my outlook that day, or I'd bring to my work that day, or I'd journal on, that evening. But the main thing that I got out of this meeting was just power. It wasn't so much what these people said, it was the power that was coming through their words. It was the vibration they were kind of putting out there into the world. And so it gets so you just hear someone's voice now, and I can just kind of judge where they're at. Just like, boom, I hear their voice. If it's weak, if it's strained, if it's tentative, I get a very quick read. Or if someone's voice is strong and clear, and this is usually someone who has strength and clarity. And these are essential qualities for prosperity, leading a good life, and for being of service to others. And that's what got me about this phone meeting. There's just so much strength and clarity and power. There was just this powerful vibration that these strong, clear people would share. And just by listening to it, I got infected with it. And sometimes it would carry me through the morning, into the afternoon, sometimes all day, the inspiration and the power and the vibration that I got from this phone meeting. So not so much the words, but not even the message. It was what was behind the words. It was who they were. Like, use what language you will, you can never say anything but who you are. And it was tapping into that power that was greater than myself, even perhaps greater than the group. It was, a transcendent power. It was God who was coming through this phone line. Like I was tapping into KGOD. Okay, if you listen to radio stations on the West Coast, KGOD, that was the radio station I was listening to. Or if you're on the East Coast, it was WGOD. Okay, radio station W God. And that's the great thing about 12-step programs is that it's like encountering God with flesh on. Like I just consistently, I encountered God in a 12-step program in a way that I don't as often do in synagogue, and I don't often as remember do in church either. So what things do you find give you power? Power to show up, to suit up, to get up, suit up, show up, and to be positively, authentically visible, living your vision, living your goals, living your dreams, and contributing to the world, and being right-sized, neither smaller than or greater than other people, but being the size that God wants you. So those are just some of my thoughts on power. Hey, there are some people in the chat room. So dysthymia, the story of my life. Okay, visionary, you get it, man. One thing that I really found helpful was Fisher Wallace. So fisherwallace.com, that device just really helped me get rid of my underlying depression and my anxiety. And there's money back guarantee. You can drive 30 days and really helps your sleep. But once I started using that device every night, people just noticed I was just smiling 5 times as much. Because when you're happy, you just naturally want to start giving to other people. There's a bounce in your step. You have power. The people who are self-centered, it's not necessarily their fault they're self-centered. They just have such gaping psychic wounds that they can't possibly be of use to others. Like, let's say you arrive on an accident scene and there's someone with his leg torn off, and other people with big gaping wounds. Those wounded people are not going to be of service to other wounded people. You have to staunch those gaping wounds. You have to staunch the blood loss before you can have enough recovery and mastery over yourself where you can then be of service to others. Killer says, wisdom is learning from the past, living in the present, planning for the future. Power equals wisdom and experience. Good stuff, Killer. And I think tapping into your racial roots and your religious roots and your communal roots and tapping into ties of blood and soil, I think that is very powerful for developing a sense of power. Also, I noticed that not all groups are equally happy and equally empowering. Like, think of Maxine Waters. Like, think what a downer she is. I think what a downer most of the leaders of the NAACP or of CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. Like, think about how unhappy large swaths of the Muslim world seem to be. Like, large swaths of the civil rights movement just seems so unhappy. Think of Maxine Waters. And so in my life experience, not all groups, not all religions, peoples, places are equally happy. So to the extent possible, avoid the downers, the sullen, angry types, always looking for a handout. One thing that's really contributed to my sense of power is I don't think I've ever had a regular commute longer than about 20 minutes. I've always kind of arranged my life so that I wouldn't have a long commute, because being at the mercy of other people just can really take a toll on your sense of power. Now, the phone call was a sponsor, not a life coach. No, the phone call was a phone meeting. This is a meeting. This is 100 different people on the phone and different people contributing. Yeah, there were stars, like top dozen or 2 dozen people who were the stars, but it was a phone meeting. Now, I found having a sponsor, and I've had a sponsor that was just only encountered over the phone, so I've never met her, and that's very powerful as well, because like when we worked the first step, I wrote like 30 pages on how my crippling emotional addictions had ruined my life. Like I got really clear about my underperformance in life, how I consistently sabotaged myself, like from business to career to education to romance to sex to social status to religion, just how this crippling emotional addiction, this hiding and biting, had crippled my life. And wow, was that sobering. Like I spent about a month on that. And then doing the complete and fearless moral inventory, we spent like 3 months on that. Everybody I resented, where I thought they'd harmed me, what part of myself they'd affected, and where was I responsible, and what could I have done instead? And getting clear on my harms inventory, like 70 different instances of where I'd harmed others, and what part of self that came out of, such as selfishness, dishonesty, inconsideration, self-seeking, or being overly fearful. So that was very sobering. Yeah, that feeling that they knew what they were doing, that's the best, when you're around people who have mastery. Like life is a spiral staircase, and you're always moving through one of four different states: helplessness, feeling small in a big world, mastery, grandiosity. And whatever state you're at, you can always work on your mastery. You can always develop your mastery, your competence. And as it says, I also deeply understand the idea of not letting unclear or unbalanced people or ideas enter my space. Yes, absolutely. They're like a virus. Yeah, stabilizing factors like race, religion, tradition, family, community, ties of blood and soil. Now, think about your ancestors and what they would want for your life. I think it's very empowering to have a clear identity, racially, religiously, nationally, to be clear about how you're going to spend your day. Specificity is one of the tools of every 12-step program. So, for example, in the food programs, you write down what you eat, and you plan what you're going to eat, and you set specific times when you will eat, and you lay out, what the menu will be, and you're very clear about the foods that you can eat and can't eat, and what you can have what you can snack on, what you can't snack on. As you simply get clear about your food, the weight starts to melt away. In sex addiction programs, you may well identify top line behaviors, like what are healthy behaviors. So for me, healthy behaviors are, good, honest work, legal work, upstanding work, prayer, meditation, exercise, study, doing these streams, hanging out with friends, developing mastery, volunteering. Okay, and then there are middle line behaviors, like say watching Netflix. And for some people, just watching Netflix, or going on their Tinder app, or going on Facebook or YouTube, just starts like a downward spiral into using pornography, or ordering a hooker, or just acting out sexually. So it's important to be clear for a sex addict on what are your top line behaviors and what are the bottom line behaviors you absolutely want to avoid. So they may be complete abstention from masturbation, from pornography, from perhaps premarital sex, from trying to get something on the first date, from going to strip clubs, maybe using dating apps, depending on where you are in your recovery and how strict your program is. And you may need a stricter program, or other people do better with with more lenient approach. In Debtors Anonymous, you track every dollar you spend, every dollar you earn, so you're always clear. And you know when bills come due, and you pay them on time. You don't pay them way early, and you don't pay them late. And in Under Owners Anonymous, you track your time. So you can track your time down to 15-minute increments. So say I typically will get up at 5:30 a.m. I need 20 minutes to shower, dress, take my supplements, get out the door. Then 10 minutes to get to synagogue, say my prayers, takes 40 minutes, study a page of Talmud takes an hour, and so on. As you track your time, that has a sobering effect. Happiness and power are different things. Muslim fundamentalist groups seem to give a great sense of power, though the happiness seems pretty low. Yeah, one does not associate, Islamic fundamentalist, groups with happiness. Power is a felt experience when you're in control of your mind, body, and soul. What are my views on the works of Ralph Waldo Emerson? I never really got into Ralph Waldo Emerson. James wants to know, do I have kids? And if not, why not? No, I do not have kids. During my 20s, I lost about 6 years. I was chronically ill. I was later diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. So basically bedridden through my 20s. So I never got to finish university. And I've struggled with chronic fatigue ever since then. So that's severely limited my life and limited my options. And one of those options is being a good owner so that you can get married and have kids. But my energy and health is now better than it's been in 30 years. So, and I'm earning good money, and my life is thriving. Pre says, I suspect your focus on the importance of ethnic or other forms of tribal identities may be a function of your personality, may not apply to those who are more individualist and libertarian in nature. Great point. Said, I wish people would talk more about what should be the definition of leisure, which today is interpreted as entertainment or relaxation rather than time to develop yourself. That's good. So write in the chat, tell me what gives you power. Like, what's that? What are the sockets that you plug into that give you the strength to get through the day, behaving honorably? The more order you have in your life, the more resilient you are, and the more impervious to chaos. Yes. Tracking time. Yep. I rise at the same time every day. It's powerful. And sleeping, eating, sexing, all need regulation. Okay, Free. How have I overcome or dealt with my chronic fatigue syndrome? So 10 years of psychotherapy, ironically, probably helped somewhat in that it kind of reduced the needless way I was beating myself down, helped me to get greater clarity. Clarity equals energy. In the first 6 years of my recovery, I was significantly helped by a drug called Nardil, Nardil. And you're going to be interested when I read to you about Nardil. My girlfriend at the time in Orlando, Florida, said, no, I should go see her psychiatrist. This was in 1993. And okay, so Nardil is used primarily in the treatment of major depressive disorder, MDD. Patients with depressive symptomology characterized as atypical, non-endogenous, and/or neurotic respond particularly well to Nardil. The medication is also useful in patients who do not respond favorably to first and second line treatments for depression or who are treatment resistant. In addition to being a recognized treatment for major depressive disorder, Nardil is effective in treating dysthymia, lifelong problem of mind, low-grade depression, bipolar depression, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, bulimia, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So Nardil made a big difference in my life. Now this is the Fisher-Wallace device that I got about 5 years ago. So what happens is that you wet these syringes or use it, then you just turn it on, and it's battery powered. You turn it on, and it's FDA approved. It's been around, for years. It's absolutely safe, and you see some kind of flashing lights. You may have that sensation, and then just kind of get sleepy, and it really helps fall asleep at night. It really helps with anxiety and depression. Fisher-Wallace, the Fisher-Wallace stimulator, fisherwallace.com. I just love this product. Been using it for about 5 or 6 years. I also love the medication modafinil. So it's a zootropic, and modafinil is the inspiration for the stimulus for the movie and then the TV show Limitless. The nickname of modafinil is boss's best friend. It really makes you want to work, makes you want to learn, gives you energy, gives you a mild feeling of euphoria, and no serious side effects. And this has been around, longer than 20 years. Like, it's very widespread in the armed forces, and it's nothing like Adderall. It's nothing like speed. It's not addictive. When you go off it, there's no crash. You simply go back to normal. It just makes you alert for about 16 hours at a time, and then you can have a normal night's sleep. It has no street value. Okay, there's no crash like Adderall. It's not speed. Adderall is just basically an amphetamine. Modafinil is not an amphetamine. It's not a stimulant. It just makes you more alert. So it's a zootropic. So zootropics are cognitive enhancers. So modafinil made a huge difference in my life and helped with the chronic fatigue. The Fisher-Wallace helped me get a better night's sleep. Using a CPAP helped me get a better night's sleep. Also a mouth guard. So this is a Z Quiet mouth guard. And the good thing about this is you don't have to set it. You don't have to put it in hot water and then kind of mold it to your mouth. You just buy it, wash it, pop it in your mouth. Now look what it does to the lower jaw. It brings the lower jaw forward, which opens up, makes breath easier. Sometimes when I'm working out, I'll just pop this in because it kind of opens up my nasal passages. Breathing is a lot easier. So this can really help reduce sleep apnea, and not to mention TMJ, and you just get a better night's sleep. Now watch what it does to the lower jaw. It kind of brings it forward. Take it out. Now, most of us, our lower jaw is kind of stuck up and in, which can give us headaches, all sorts of, inhibits easy breath. So being able to release the lower jaw down and away can really help with breathing and reducing sleep apnea. And then that gives you significantly more energy. 12-step programs really help my spirit, help me reduce how I was just beating myself down. The more connected I am to good people, the more energy I experienced. I also just kept Googling chronic fatigue syndrome and trying different supplements. And I'm not sure exactly which ones helped, but I just periodically go on Amazon.com and just put in chronic fatigue, supplements, and I'll just try different supplements. And that's helped. Also, there's a great store, Dragon Herbs, in Beverly Hills and Santa Monica. Like, I love Chinese herbs, like prescribed by a skilled, Chinese medicine expert. Chinese herbs really helped me with my chronic fatigue. And hey, Western Man is here, fresh off the recent Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson interview. The more I listen to Jordan Peterson, the more I'm convinced he's the most salient and profound intellectual of our times. One of my views on the works of Nietzsche, I think he is frequently brilliant, particularly with his aphorisms. Jordan Peterson is the avatar for the West's last gasp attempt at reaching some synthesis with Jewish power. So it says, I read your list, Luke, and most of mine are the same list of things that bring power. I discovered this through the study of nature, cure, lifestyle management, the study of Chinese medicine, some esoteric and occult material. Yeah, modafinil is amazing, and it doesn't have the crash and the dangers of Adderall. It's completely different category from Adderall. So it is great stuff, best cognitive enhancer out there. It's potent and it doesn't destroy your life. Shoshana says, Luke, you're a man of order. I am in disarray. Order is so important. Like, find a good 12-step program. Like, everyone can benefit, say, from Al-Anon. That's the best 12-step program for learning to get along with other people. And once you learn to get along with other people, so many other things start opening up. Then you also meet people and you learn about other 12-step programs that help them. And they don't really cost anything. Just bring a couple of dollars to put in the pot. The 12-step programs are self-supporting through our own contributions. And you can go to a meeting with $1 in your pocket. You just put it in the bowl as it passes, and you're contributing. And it's like free psychotherapy, but far more potent because it's infused with spirituality and God and a very concrete community. And you're coming to understand your character defects and tapping into a power greater than yourself to overcome them. So biofeedback, yeah, biofeedback's powerful. Weston says, if you had some advice for a 25-year-old self, for your 25-year-old self, what would it be? Go to 12-step programs. That would be the most important thing. And then as I get out of the way of all the things that I was doing to, beat myself down, hold myself down, get in my way, harm other people, leading to them to retaliate against me, just constantly trying to change my state by changing my religion, changing my geography, changing my job or my field of study. Instead of taking these superficial outside cures, if I'd done the inner work, my life would have gotten started much more productively, much earlier. Yeah, you can buy modafinil in India. It's available over the counter there, and it's great. It's perhaps most effective if you just take it, a few days a week, so that if you take it every day, then its effect is not as dramatic. So, and then take it, of course, first thing in the morning, because it will wear off after about 15 hours. Then you'll get a good night's sleep. But if you take it at noon, then you're not going to sleep. Spiritual says, Nietzsche planted a love of Jewish genius in me. So I've been immune to the irrational degrees of anti-Semitism surrounding us. Interesting. I did not watch the State of the Union tonight, and I've never particularly cared about speeches by politicians. I'm interested in politics, but I never really cared about speeches by politicians. I've never had a yearning to meet a politician. But I was very skeptical when Trump jumped into the race in June of 2015. And after a few weeks, I started to pay some attention. But it was in August 2015 when Friday afternoon he did this rally in Mobile, Alabama, and I just got goosebumps. It was just so mesmerizing and exciting. It was kind of the same thing that I experienced when I saw the movie Flashdance in 1983. Saw it on its first weekend, and I started telling everyone this is going to be a big hit. So, Trump made me feel power. I felt empowered watching Donald Trump and seeing his example of how he just takes so much criticism and abuse, and he wouldn't let it beat him down. So, absolutely, people can inspire us, and the community that you put yourself in can inspire you. You're going to feel a lot more power living in Beverly Hills than in South Central Los Angeles. You're going to feel a lot more power living in San Diego than in than in Detroit. You're going to feel a lot more power living in Manhattan than living in bad parts of the Bronx. That says, before you walk out the door, put a smile on your face, expect to be the best, most thoughtful, kind, understanding person you can be. Don't expect constant resistance and negativity. Free says, what major addictions or bad behaviors have you struggled with in the past and worked to overcome? Hiding, kind of an addiction to hiding and biting other people. Being codependent, like looking for other people to rescue me or looking for people that I wanted to rescue. Very self-centered, narcissistic personality disorder, constantly trying to manipulate other people to give me attention. I had periodic problems with porn addiction. Like I never got so I was doing anything illegal. Also, I periodically I try to shore up my sense of self by seducing women, or I would always try to make our sexual relationship increasingly intense. I was always looking for intensity rather than intimacy in many of my romantic relationships. I was never able to sustain a romantic relationship much longer than a year. I was kind of picking out damaged women who I could get into bed with relatively easily without having to spend a lot of time or money on it. So I robbed myself of meeting a quality woman, someone that I could build a life with. So pretty much every emotional addiction that I've read about, I think I've got. So I've completely stayed away from microdosing LSD. I say I've never tried any drug, no illegal drug, no LSD, marijuana, cocaine, or anything like that. And it's getting clear on my character defects. I was just writing this evening, how has selfishness ruined my life? I just go around wanting what I wanted, and I try to take it, and I did not take into consideration the effect that my choices would have on others. So I wrote several pages on this last night, tonight. I saw what I desired. I tried to take it. I wanted to get off. So I choose these vulnerable, damaged women to get off. And I kind of went down market often in my female choices because I'd want women who let me do the things that I wanted to do. And without me putting much effort on my part to really bring something to the relationship. So kind of lost out on the possibility of true connection because I was just looking to use people. And frequently I would get used in turn. So I wasted time, wasted money, threw away my emotional equilibrium, kind of chasing romantic fixes and chasing my obsessions. None of these women were suited for marriage. So my selfishness took me out of the running for quality connections, for lasting romance, for marriage, for business connections. I'm sure many friendships and business opportunities just slipped through my hands because I was such obviously a selfish, self-centered person. My selfishness meant that few people wanted to build anything with me, and those who did were as screwed up as I was. When I was a kid, not many other kids wanted to play with me. I was kind of like in the middle of the social status in school. Sometimes I was below average, sometimes above average, but that's where I'd oscillate. And when classmates had parties, often they would not invite me. Very painful. How have I been selfish? Just simply not taking into consideration the effect that my choices have on others. I persisted in writing on the porn industry while also trying to simultaneously live within an Orthodox Jewish community and go to Orthodox Jewish synagogues. And I made both Orthodox Jews and pornographers absolutely creeped out by my double life. And I also felt similarly uncomfortable, unsafe. I felt like a whore, walking into a church. And so I weirded out other people. I creeped them out, creeped out my religious community, the one that I had converted to. By choosing to base my career choices on stuff that would get me attention and put me in the newspaper and on TV, kind of led to me living in poverty, where I put myself at risk. When you're very poor, your well-being is endangered. I was often having to kind of rely on the kindness of strangers or the generosity of friends, family, community. I did not put much effort into saving money because prior to getting sick at age 22, I'd saved up $30,000, and I was really proud of that. But then I was bedridden for 6 years. I lost my savings, and I could never build up the patience to save again. I was just so discouraged by losing it all, by losing my 20s, by losing my health, just kind of struggling through life with this chronic fatigue. I felt, isolated. I felt lonely. I felt, like the universe had screwed me over. So I was not patient. I didn't build. I didn't save. I just tried to grab all the good things out of life that I could, just in case I relapsed into my chronic fatigue syndrome and lost it all once again. I just kept turning for help, to family, to friends, to my new religion, to a new religious community. I just like always had my hand out, It's kind of pathetic, put my efforts into getting attention instead of building an honorable life. So I kind of allowed other people to be my safety net instead of being an adult and building up my own safety net. I was often just fell behind in my synagogue dues. I wasn't really pulling my weight in the Jewish community. I remember once I made this organization wait several months for my final $1,000 check to them. I kept giving off the vibe that I was looking for a woman to take care of me, and of course this turned off the quality women. Only a very sick, equally sick woman would be attracted by someone as needy as I used to be. By my reckless behavior and irresponsible choices and a selfish way of life, I maximized my family's attention and the attention of concerned people around me. And through sometimes my reckless writing, my reckless disregard for the facts, my carelessness, lack of consideration in my writing, all in my selfish pursuit of glory, I made other people feel unsafe. I recklessly and needlessly damaged reputations. I disrupted lives, and I creeped out a lot of people. I remember I had about $50,000 in credit card debt a few years ago, yet I insisted on spending $2,500 on a class on how to create a one-man play. That was my eroticized rage play. You can find it on YouTube. Now, how much have I been there for other people? And not much, because since I got chronic fatigue syndrome, I felt depleted and lonely and poor, and I was just so intent on trying to get some attention, some love, as something to sustain me, that I did not develop the resources and relationships so that I could be a blessing to other people. So self-seeking, that meant essentially that I was insatiable for attention. I'd try to manipulate people to kind of tell me who I was, give me narcissistic supply. I had such a weak sense of self that I couldn't stand on my own 2 feet. And I'd be the clown, or I'd just be constantly a different person in different contexts. I was not content to be a student among students, a worker among workers, a Jew among Jews. I had to be the star or die trying. And I was just, in undramatic ways, I was just killing myself. Just always trying to be the center of attention. And this just exhausted other people and dismayed them. And my self-seeking caused other people to avoid me. And it cost me all these opportunities for meaningful connection, for lasting love, for building a business, and coming out of the cave and being authentically, positively visible. And also my self-seeking and attention-seeking often caused me to cut ethical corners, which then led to other people retaliating against me, and then I'd resent them, they'd hate me. There are people who will hate me for life. Remember, I was at this Shabbat dinner, and this woman I liked went into the kitchen, and I just went in there and I groped her. And she was traumatized by it. She, years later, she'd still cry about it. She'd go around to different synagogues saying, I was a bad person, I should not be allowed in. So I haven't always been honest. This has distanced me from other people. They saw me as unsafe, and they retaliated against me. I lost credibility, I lost reputation, I became more lonely. The more lonely I got, the more weird I got, thus losing out on more opportunities to connect and to come out of the cave and to be of service, and rob myself of many possibilities for growth. Probably the main character defect that has characterized my life has just been a lack of consideration for other people, not taking other people into account when I make my choices. I just grab what I want, kind of could not handle the tension between what I want and what my choices would do to my connections to other people. Also fear, just been so afraid all of my life, afraid of my father, afraid of religious authority, afraid of, authority, at work, communal authority, just authority in general, the police. I was always putting on a front, a false self. That way people did not get a chance to know the real me. And I didn't know who the real me was. I kind of lost touch with who I was because I was just desperately running after attention and romantic thrills. was kind of running a con on myself and on other people, and it didn't work. Made me ill at ease, made me diseased, made me sick. I was afraid of human connection. I was afraid of flourishing and prosperity. When I was offered good things, good connections, good opportunities, I just felt unworthy, and I just turned them down. I'd sabotage them. I preferred to live life as the martyr. Yeah, a lot of men have lost their lives, through addictions such as to pornography or to video games or marijuana or alcohol. Yeah, I had 2 Asian girlfriends. So I've also, been with some very beautiful black women and some not so beautiful black women. So I enjoyed, in my 20s being very experimental. And some groups of women are a lot easier than others. So, the quality white girl was often took more than what I had to land. So, yeah, the major health issue is chronic fatigue syndrome. It struck me in February of 1988. Well, I'm doing great now. I think I'm doing well now. So now let's see, as I build up the amount of exercise that I'm able to handle without getting sick and relapsing into chronic fatigue syndrome. So who knows, but now there are days I can bike 10 miles and not get sick afterwards. I've had like 3 days in a row I was able to bike about 36 miles. And yeah, I was tired the next few days, but I didn't get sick. Look, do I respect all women now, or women plain or old, or has porn made me hard and disrespectful? I don't respect all women or all men. I respect people who are worthy of respect. Obviously, I'm more attracted to attractive women than ugly women. I am viscerally repulsed by fat women, just as I think women are viscerally repulsed by weak men. I don't think porn made me hard and disrespectful. It probably accentuated those traits that were already within me. So I treat pretty much everyone with respect. But a lot of people are just soul suckers, so I have to keep them out of my life. Hey, the rabbi's here. Hey, the real deal. I'm not a rabbi. No one here thinks I'm an expert on anything, right? I got sick. I didn't even finish my undergraduate degree. My Hebrew is very poor. My Aramaic is even worse. I'm not a Judaic scholar. I don't have any academic qualifications, except I trained for 3 years and graduated to be a teacher of the Alexander Technique. And I love to read books, and I've had some interesting life experiences. I am young, and I treat everyone respectfully. That's good. I believe I treat everyone respectfully too. And without those who do the lowliest of work, others are not able to do the jobs that require that create a stable and consistent society. Okay, Free says, thanks for the honesty. How can I overcome my sexual urges and give up the chase? Well, you have to understand what's going on there. Like if some of your basic desires are out of whack, it's because you're not at ease and at peace with who you are. And so you're trying to escape from maybe the chronic low-grade depression, or the instability of bipolar disorder, or the havoc wreaked by ADHD, or just the lack of normal human connections. Like if you have friends, if you have community, if you have meaningful work, if you have volunteer opportunities, if you are pursuing your hobbies, you're much less likely to be vulnerable to sexual obsessions. And sexual obsessions, in my understanding, are more a reflection of an inability to connect normally. I think that's what all addictions are. They are the inability to bond normally with other people. And then the way we deal with that inability to connect will vary. Some people will be alcoholics. Other people will be cocaine addicts. Other people will be reckless spenders. Other people will be pornaholics. Other people will be adulterers. Other people will just play video games endlessly. Now, how we deal with our brokenness will vary. But if we're not able to bond normally with other people, then we've got to bond with something. And so we'll bond with our addictions. So it says she's viscerally repulsed by fat men, which means they are weak men. Yeah. Not all fat people can help it. I prefer not to judge. Okay. I'm just talking about visceral reactions, kind of before cognition. I think women are just viscerally repulsed by weak men, and men, generally speaking, just viscerally repulsed by fat, sloppy women. So it's great chatting with you guys, and look forward to hearing more about how you get power. Send me an email or hit me up on Twitter. lucasback@gmail.com. We need power. And for some people, it's faith in God. For other people, it's faith in God plus practice of religion. For other people, it's having a lot of meaningful relationships. For other people, it's doing important, meaningful work, reading great books, exercising, staying in good shape, volunteering, being of service to others, great music, great art, great literature. But I think maybe having purpose in life, if you know why you're going to work, let's say you just got a really tough job that's just no fun at all, and you're going to work for like 10, 12 hours a day, but you're doing it to support your family. You've got a why, then you can overcome anything. I think once you've got a why, the hows will take care of themselves. And so whys, answering that why question, why get up in the morning? And once you see that you're trying to be of service to others, that you're trying to help God's kids, that's the reason you go to work, is to help God's children. Then that infuses you with a sense of power, because on my natural self, when I go to work, I'm like, looking to hook up, or looking for attention, or looking to provoke, or to make people laugh, or have intense conversations, like do everything but my job. Like that's my natural tendency. But I approach work with, how can I be of service to my employer, to customers, to clients, to my Alexander Technique students, to my patrons, to my readers. If I just take that attitude, how can I be of service to others? Like all my self-defeating, emotional compulsions, addictions, just seem to disappear. I mean, they're always there in the background, but if my mind is focused on how can I be of service to others, like that's a prosperous mindset. That's a sober mindset. And problems of addiction, in my experience, just kind of melt away at my damaging addictions to, say, overly provocative speech, inappropriate speech. I don't even struggle with it when my mind is focused on how can I be of service to other people. Doesn't addiction stem from a lack of meaning and purpose in one's life, not just social ineptitude? The inability to bond is not a matter of ineptitude. It's a matter of something's like really broken in you. You're not at ease with yourself, therefore you're not at ease with other people. And it's going to be really hard to find meaning and purpose in your life if you're not able to bond with other people. I have no experiences with psychedelics. I never touched psychedelics or any illegal drug. But I have had friends who do, swear by ayahuasca. And I have a brilliant friend who's had amazing insights from ayahuasca ceremonies. And he says it's totally safe, because often the people who are putting on these ayahuasca ceremonies are completely incompetent, but nobody's ever died from them. So that's his opinion. I stay far away. How can you be of service? Yeah, that's like, if you just go to work thinking, how can you be of service to your boss, to your clients, to other people at work, or your self-defeating compulsions and addictions, they just kind of melt away. And it cleans out your soul. And rather than be a taker, you're a giver. But by being a giver, you are escaping your own destructive tendencies. Okay, great to talk to you guys. But for now, bye-bye.